Good, good,
My
good.
bestie over there. My Delta bestie.
So I got bumped. I was working mornings. That's how come I wasn't online because I work like 4:30 a.m. I got the morning shift. I love that shift. It's like 4:30 a.m. to 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, well, give or take 10 o'clock. So I get to run the day after,
Yeah.
right? But then seniority sucks, yeah. So even though I've been there for a long time, I still number seven from the bottom.
Wow.
I
Oh.
got I got bumped to night shift now.
Oh, so what
So I'll
time?
I'll probably be seeing you if you because I work the early morning shift, so I don't think you and Kiko will get, you know,
No, yeah.
go on that. So now that
Usually
I'm
not.
on the night shift, I probably see you and Kiko now.
Yeah. Oh,
I
good.
know. So every time, when he come to the airport, he makes a presence, You know what I mean?
Kiko,
Yeah, he has a presence when he walk into the lobby.
he always does.
Yes. And then mind you though, he get his muscle t-shirt and shorts. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So he
Yep.
makes a
Yeah.
presence when he walks into the lobby. I catch him all the time, and then I make my way to you know, to his
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah. That's our brother. Kind of wild. Kind of crazy. Well, hopefully you can jump on today. Um, Happy Aloha Friday, everybody. Any leads, needs, good deeds? Jake, what's new with you?
Me, I exit out of one private loan and then I got into another one. It's good. This one is a new construction that I'm doing here in Blaine, Washington. It's the last town that you get to before you cross the border into Canada. So I partnered with this husband and wife couple before on a fix and flip, but we partnered on a lot. Both provided funds for that, and then they're paying me interest, and then they're giving me an equity split too, a profit
Ooh.
split. So I structured it pretty differently. I went pending the sale price of the property. If it sells at 599 or more, I'll get 15. So it's like a tiered profit share. Because at first they just wanted 10%. They were gonna give me 10% net profit. And I kind of negotiated something a little better for me, kind of a win-win on both sides. So the lower it sells, the lowest I'll get is 10%. Then the middle tier is 12, and then the highest is 15. So
Oh, I
and
like that.
that's just pretty hands off. So I got two ways I can get paid on that one. I'll
Did
get
you
the
say you have a piece of the net profits too?
yeah piece of the net profits, and then so we closed on the land. We bought the land for 100K. The numbers is about 300 to build the brand new house and holding costs, and they projecting ARV to be 600. So
Out in Washington?
that's in Washington State. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Are you
So
going to the like New Wealth stuff
I
like
haven't yet. I've been so their door knocking usually all in the evening, and I'm at my W-2 then working at the shipyard.
Yep.
And then on the weekends, I've been riding snowmobile mostly every weekend. But tomorrow will probably be my last
Oh
ride because
boy.
season's coming to an end. So I'm coming to Hawaii next week. I'll be there for a week
Oh no way.
for
Oh,
spring
let's
break. Yeah.
grab
Monday,
lunch if you can.
Sunday. Yeah, 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 I'll definitely hit you up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice. Jake's gonna be in town.
yeah,
Okay. Well, oh, thanks for sharing that, Jake. That's
yeah.
that's awesome.
Problem. Yeah,
Jake's
just
so yeah, I mean Jake's on the private lending side, so he's a private lender. And man, this is like what, third year, second year, third year?
second, second. May
Second.
would be 2 years. May would be 2 years. Yeah,
So like now that
yeah.
you've been through a few rounds already, right, of deals,
Yeah.
like what's how different is it? Because I remember early on, like um actually you were thinking about going to house flipping too, right? And that still might be an option, right? It's a good right deal
Yeah,
call.
so it is. Yeah,
Well, how
but
do you
my
like
plan was
being a
to.
lender?
I mean, I like it, but I kind of want to take more and more risk for a bigger profit, right? More risk,
Yeah.
more rewards. So I wouldn't mind. My whole idea was to like lend so that I can be in proximity of these experienced investors and pick their brain and learn. And I felt like I did learn a lot within the past 2 years. So I'm kind of coming to that point now where I'm trying to slowly get away from private lending and maybe start doing projects myself, whether it's ground up construction or fix and flip. Those are my two strategies I think I'm gonna focus on. I think the long term buy and hold here in Washington, I hear a lot of horror stories of tenants not moving out, and I don't know if I want to do that yet. I'd rather just keep building up capital and reinvest it. And that's what I've been doing with all my loans too. Once I get paid out, I just reinvest it and I just keep compounding that interest. So it's kind of a slow and steady, but it's building up there, and I can see it like coming to fruition. Like, oh, this is not too bad.
Yeah, totally,
So yeah,
bro. Well,
but not yet.
congratulations on
Yeah.
another exit. Yeah.
Yeah, I exited. I just exited one, so I'm currently in three now. I'm in one with Keikoa, one with Kaimana in Vegas, and then now this new construction one, this new
Nice.
construction loan. So
We're gonna, I think we might try to make it out to Washington, or to the New Wealth, the new spot
Yeah.
they got. Yeah, because Chico's been trying to get me out there, and looks like fun. So I told him, you guys look like you're having too much fun, man. Too much fun without us. So he so yeah, maybe I'll definitely plan around that. So come see you.
yeah, that'll be good. I'll come meet up for sure too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a great group out in Washington. Like Taro used to run a nice like meetup and stuff. I don't know, yeah, who's running it now, but if New Wealth is out there, like yeah, we definitely want to go support them and stuff. So I think it'd be good to hang around, because that's where the deals probably will come once they get rolling,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the group me chat. So I see all the events. Keikoa's, assistant Flavius,
Mhm.
good. And he hit me up one day, but it was like a day before. He's, hey, you want to go door knocking tomorrow? And I was like, oh, kind of late notice, but I actually got what time is it? And then I was like, oh, I usually work those hours, and it's far away and it's traffic. So I live
Yeah.
far from Bellevue, so it's kind of like, oh man, I gotta do it. Traffic, drive an hour and a half, find parking. So
That's probably like one of the weirdest calls you would get for like the like, hey, you wanna go door knocking?
yeah. You know how it is. You did it, and you're like, oh, I never done
Oh,
it before
dude.
too. I don't have a script. I don't know what to say. I need my shirt, the badge, because they have the
Yeah.
whole, the whole shebang. They got the badge, the shirt, and everything,
Yeah.
and what to
Oh
say.
yeah,
But
that would have been a good idea. I didn't know how to dress or what I was doing. So I just wore like really nice clothes, like even like dress shoes, like door knocking in dress
yeah,
shoes, like really nice. Then I realized like, oh, that's like you don't want to do that. You just want to look, casual, like
Mhm.
unassuming a little bit, But yeah, door knocking was great. Now that I look back, is because I was door knocking in 2011 or 12, yeah, around there for about a year. So I always say I never been through a crash, or I never been through a down market, and but I seen the aftermath for sure. Yeah, I definitely was door knocking during that time, and that was brutal. So I see what could happen to a neighborhood, um, if the housing market takes a crash, which it did. Um, and I knocked every door. I had a list, right, of people who were supposed to be upside down on their mortgage, and come to find out, like everybody was. You just go
yeah,
down the line, like just even though the address isn't on the list, it's probably gonna be on the list next month.
yeah.
So you just knocked the door anyways. So yeah, that was a crazy time. But I think the fact that New Wealth is intentional about door knocking for new students, I think that's actually we're starting to relearn that lesson. Like it's necessary, because it's good to help build character for the what's to come. I think
Uh,
in
yeah,
entrepreneurship, in business, in investing, in real estate, it's like you gotta develop a lot of intangibles, like a lot of like thick skin, being comfortable with who you are, what you're doing, and just so much that you find out while you're door knocking. Yeah. So, and for us, it's cold calling, you know.
Yeah.
Some people like cold calling can sometimes be just as intimidating for some people, right? Um, but I've learned that that's the quickest way to get business for us. And it's actually good to help develop like your character because you need persistence, you need to be organized, and you need to put the work in, right? To cold call. So you learn a lot, and I think it's necessary at the beginning. So, oh, Roger got his daughter.
So this is Sonoy. She's in training. You guys got any advice for a young real estate investor?
Keep learning.
Yeah, keep learning.
Yeah.
She's gonna start homeschool next year, so we're gonna
Oh, that's
take her
awesome.
education in a little different direction. And so she's gonna start managing the Turbo Tenant platform with me and
Ooh. Oh, I wish I had that kind of schooling.
good. We'll see. If you guys got any advice, man, I would love to hear it. She's 7, almost 8.
Man, I don't know. I wouldn't it be great, right, if we had some sort of system? Um, are there any out there for young kids, like kind of like what would you call it? Financial education, I guess, for children. I guess at some point it's maybe they're too young, right?
There's a Warren Buffett cartoon,
No
but I
way.
mean, yeah.
Wow, I feel
I
like
mean,
I should watch that.
yeah, I mean, it's not that great, but like at least it's like, I don't know. I like it. My daughter's like a little too young for it still, but I'm gonna start. I've played it for a few times, and in the next year maybe I'll start playing for her more, where like the kids, basically figure out like how to get what they want out of life, and like, oh, how do we, like they talk about marketing and building a business, like they do the lemonade stand and just stuff like that, where like they teach them business.
Yep. Yeah, man. So that was your daughter, right, Greg?
Oh yeah, a few minutes ago.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
She's already like running around and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, she's been running.
Guys, you know what? Like, cause like this is like our 5th year, and we made such good friends. Like Greg, is one of them, Roderick, everybody that yeah, it's been quite the ride. And it's been so busy for us on our side. And things have changed in a great way. Um, even for me, professionally, so like recently I've been getting hit with just waves of I guess I'd say gratitude. Yeah, just gratitude. And then just like not seeing your daughter, Greg, because how old is she? She must be like what, 3?
Yeah, she just turned 3.
3. Yeah.
So she was born like a year after we started this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy how time just goes by. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know there was questions for Jake in the. Oh, you got to it, yeah, Jake. You saw Devin and Tasha. Nice. Um, if you guys last call we kind of touched on it, but now I kind of want to bring it back to see if you guys have any input on the NAR ruling, because I was thinking about it more. Um, and I'm kind of curious to see how it will affect us.
Wait, so can we clarify that? Like, because I haven't taken the time to really dig in to understand the bottom line, like straight up, what is this meaning? And from what my understanding is that all that this means is that the commission is not going to be blatantly advertised on MLS. Like how we right now can just go on Redfin and see like, oh, the buyer's comp was 2.5. Is that
I
all
think
it
it's more
is?
than that.
I know it's more than that, but like,
It's I from my understanding, unless I got it wrong, my understanding is that the buyers are now responsible for their side of the commission. No longer are the sellers obligated to pay that. I guess they can't.
Right.
Yeah. So
But they were never obligated. Like none of it makes sense to
yeah,
me. They were never obligated. And then they talk about how like NAR prevents you from negotiating commissions. Everybody has always negotiated commissions, even
yeah.
like you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like it's just now just making it like official that they could do whatever they want, even though they always have.
I'm
You
trying
know?
to find out what is the cause, I guess, because the buyers, the reason why it kind of made sense that the sellers took care of it was because they're the ones selling. They should be getting the money, right? Buyers right now have hard enough time with the rates being so high, right? So now they got to cover their side of the broker fee, which isn't small sometimes, like so that when already they're maxing out, what they can do, you stack another 20 grand on top of that, like that can kill a deal. We all know this, right? So I'm wondering, was this was obviously, I think, made changes like this was made because of the lawsuit. So I guess they're trying to protect the consumer, but I think they might be hurting the consumer by doing this.
Yeah. But I mean, so that's the thing though. Like, I mean, there's everybody's got a different opinion on what this actually means. I was listening to Barbara Corcoran last night and she was like, no, like the seller's not going to stop paying buyers commissions. They're just not going to be advertising it on MLS, you know? Like she's like, most sellers are savvy enough to know that they're happy to be paying that 2.5, whatever percent because they want to motivate all those buyers agents to show their property, right? It's like the whole steering thing, right? Like you get the
Yeah.
property where the, for sale by owner, no buyer's commission offered. Every agent's going to say, oh, you don't want that dump. That's a horrible property, right? But then like they're going to take them some overpriced house, because it's like 3% commission co-op and they're going to sell the crap out of it because their agent's going to make more money, which my understanding is like that was the root of the problem. And that is why this lawsuit came out to begin with.
Mhm.
But like the sellers still understand that offering that commission is what makes their place sell faster and for more and generate more competition. So like me personally, I'm selling a property, yeah, we're cutting back. Like on the flip we're doing right now, we dropped our co-op to 2% now, which is starting to seem like that's kind of the norm in Maui now. I'm seeing a lot of just 2% on the buyer's agents. And we sold like in like 2 days for over ask for all cash and, like it went great. But like, we're happy to pay that 2%. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
most sellers, savvy sellers will feel that way too, but I don't
Yeah.
know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think who's gonna benefit from this I think is investors like us. The people who are savvy with like I mean, I think it's still necessary to utilize a very competent realtor on the buy side. It'll help free you up, it'll help check boxes, be additional eyes on the deal. But they gotta be good, and they gotta be those second eyes. Otherwise, we can, deal with the contracts, we can deal with the other side, we can negotiate for ourselves. And I think perhaps that right there is because that does take some experience, that a retail client may not have nor want, have the ambitions to have, like they just want to buy their house. And I think the benefit for us, since we study real estate and we're participating, is that yeah, hopefully we are, at a level that we can represent ourselves competently, and I think in that case, I don't need to be represented, right? And that's going to take away some leverage because before, we could say like if there was a deal, even if it was off market, but there's a realtor involved, that's another reason why a seller would choose a buyer is that, hey, I'll come in unrepresented, and save the seller on their fees. So But I think overall, I think investors will, it's actually a benefit depending on how much this affects. I mean, well, it could affect the back end, your exit when you go to resale, because buyers are having a hard time qualifying already, and now you gotta pay 2.5%, 3% commission on top of that. Like that's gonna kill a lot of margin in deals, I feel. Okay, cool. What's up, bro? Where's your muscle tee?
What's happening? What?
Your muscle tee.
Yeah, t-shirt, bro, t-shirt. I think it's going to hurt new investors and new buyers, though. You guys probably talked about it, because now they got to come up with the 2% out of their own pocket if the seller won't cover it. So
Why new investors?
a lot of new investors, they're stretching, right? They have a minimum down payment. And so if they have to come up now with the 2 to 3% to cover the agent that's helping them out of pocket, they basically have to bring additional down to close, or additional funds to close. So, I mean, 3% is not a small amount when a lot of investors are trying to put down 20%, because, you know, new investors are putting down 20, 25%. You add another 3%, that's a big stretch, right? So yeah, I think that's gonna be hard. But I think the other part that new investors will do is, because they don't want to pay a realtor, because they don't want to come up with that 3%, they're gonna try to do it themselves, or they'll try to work with the selling agent. Which new investors, if they're not savvy, they don't know what they're looking for, and the terms of the deal could work in their against them, right? Because the listing agent's obviously gonna work for the seller.
Well, that's when it comes into play, like we were talking about earlier, about how, you know, like New Wealth, right? Like they require like students to do deals with a partner experience with has a track record. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's important, actually.
Yeah, it's a really great, it's a really good thing. I mean, it works. I think it's going to become a bigger thing in the future for sure. I mean, we know that from bridge lending. If you're a brand new investor and you try to sign on for bridge lending, your interest rate's high, your down payment's high, everything's high. You have to get high in order to do the deal because it's so high, right? So, yeah, this is gonna be an interesting change for sure. But I think it's gonna invoke a lot more partnerships.
Kiko and I paid 15% for years
Oh
of
yeah.
our money.
Oh
You
yeah.
know? That's why, like, I think I'm numb to the rates. Like when the interest rates were going up, it's like, okay, that's gonna make it harder to do loans and, you know, harder. But to me, it's like, if you understand real estate, like, then the rate and points, they do matter, you know. But like, if you do your homework, it shouldn't matter. You know, it shouldn't matter. Now, granted, this past year was an anomaly. Like these rates went up so fast and very high, right? So now that could take people out, and it did take people out. Took out massive companies, in our space. So, but what would NAR? Because yeah, a new investor would be using a realtor most likely, to source deals and help with the transaction. And then they have to cover their costs, though. That's more to the gap, right?
Yep.
And it's not really a small amount. I mean, if you buy an $800,000 house and you're paying 2.5% commission, what is that? It's like 20 grand, right?
Well, $1 million house at 3%, that's 30 grand, right?
30.
So if they're putting 20% down, they're having to come up with 200K already.
Yeah.
Now you got to add 30 more thousand plus closing costs, which is, you know what, another point or so. So I mean that tax on like another 20, so total 50,000 more to pay for escrow, closing, commissions. And so for a new investor who's trying to stretch, they're like, hey, you know, I can't just get in at 200 now. I got to save more to 250. For some of us, that doesn't seem like that big of a leap, but man, a lot of first-time investors, it's like this is all I got. So I think it's going to reposition some investors to have to go a little bit smaller. I mean, that's the only answer there. Or they got a partner number two with somebody who can bring in more cash to supplement the gap. The first-time home buyers, like the single family home buyers, those are the ones that are going to really have a hard time, because I mean, they're doing FHA 5% down to actually come up with an additional 3% to pay their realtor. And that's a huge amount for those families.
Yeah. Are they gonna start financing it, you think? Are they gonna allow that?
I mean, that's a whole shift in the lending industry. I bet there are going to be some creative products that will come available for sure. I mean, a smart listing agent is going to try to still convince your seller. Like if I was a listing agent, I would be like, hey, everyone's going to be, you know, a lot of buyers are not going to be coming around, and a lot of buyers agents aren't going to show our properties because of the thing. But we're going to stand out if we actually do unofficially offer something. We just can't do it through MLS. So, you know, is there a courtesy seller that we can offer? Like, you know, can we still offer 2.5% to somebody? And then that's when a buyer who comes to the door and sees the house, the agents like can tell their buyer, hey, this, you don't have to come up with 3% to pay me. Actually, the seller's still going to pay me on this one. So then that buyer is going to be like, you know what? I think we got to go with this house over the other one, because the other one, my 5% won't get me the house. This house, my 5% is going to get me the house because this listing agent actually already pre-negotiated something. So there's no rules against the seller compensating. It's just not through MLS. So a smart listing agent is going to tell their seller, let's do a marketing strategy to make sure that we stand up and above, is my perspective on what listing agents can do. And that's going to really set them apart. I think a lot of listing agents who are not savvy, they're thinking, oh, this is great because now I can win over listing agents because now my fee is only 2.5%. And they're going to try to get as many listings as possible. But the problem is that if I'm a buyer or if I'm a seller, I'm like, I don't want to just have you sign for 2.5%. Like I have 50 million agents to choose from now. So it's going to be so much more competitive, because as a seller, it's like, dude, I want the best person I can get for my 2.5%. So interesting.
They're expecting like a large amount of realtors to leave the industry because of this. What's your thoughts? You think so?
Yeah, I want to hear what Jana says too. She's got a smile on her face for some reason. So I'm giving you a heads up, Jana.
Kiko, you wasn't on yet, but I told them how you make a presence when you come into our Delta lobby. Your t-shirt, your shots. I was like, I spot you from far. I was like, oh, I gotta check this guy in.
It's
You know
the
what I mean?
smell. It's the smell. That's why.
I spot you from far, Kiko.
Yeah.
No, so you know what? As a real estate agent, hey, you know what? They gotta go classes. They gotta learn how to negotiate. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to be like male male, and they have to like grok with their buyers and sellers, man. You could be my best friend and I'm gonna take care of you. But you know, in the meantime, we gotta take care of our people too. You know what I mean? It's a give and take, and it's always been a give and take. And so just like Greg, yes, I don't understand what all of this is about, because as a realtor for over 20 years, it's always been negotiable. It's always been negotiable. But what happened is like this came from the mainland. You know what I mean? So they felt that it was unfair. So, and this been going on for years and years and years and years. And I think Keller Williams settled. So they not only sued NAR, they sued like the big guys. You know what I mean? So the big guys, some of them, they settled already. You know what I mean? And I guess NAR was tired, especially when there was some bad rap with the president. You know, there was some bad rap with NAR. And so they just settled. You know what I mean? They decided enough already. We're going to just settle. So once we settle, you can never come back and do this to us ever again. You know what I mean? But that's like $418 million. Like for me, if I know I'm right, if I'm right, I'm going to take you to the T. You know what I mean? Because they already went to all the upper courts, all the upper, you know what I mean? But they just so sick and tired of this, they're just settling. So, but this is not new. You know what I mean? This is not new. We always was able to negotiate. Like, so if a seller tells me that, hey, you know what? I'm only going to pay you 5%. So we decide, okay, well, we're going half, right? But even with that, we can just say, well, you know what? I want my 3% and I'm going to give you 2.5.
But my understanding is not even that. It's that the seller cannot advertise that the buyer's commission, you know, that their buyer's the buyer's comp is going to be that 2.5 or 3. So basically,
that is still in
the
the
call the
works.
list agent.
Right. So that's still in the works on how they're gonna do a the contract, right? that's still in the works on how they're gonna do the contract for to share the commission or not, right? So the buyer's agent is gonna say, which it's already there on the buyer's contract, where if the seller's agent doesn't pay me, you, the buyer, gonna have to pay me. It's already there in the buyer's agreement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's there. It always was there. So I honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't understand it either. But we do have it's coming. And the change is gonna come. So for the agents that don't know how to work with people and negotiate and have fun with it, those are the ones that's gonna drop. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If they're not a people person, they're the ones gonna have to go back, go get job. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
I'm in it
agreed.
for the long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you've been doing
But
it
then,
for
but
so long.
Corey, you're absolutely correct. Because when all of this happened, I said, oh, the investors, they're going to do good. Because they don't need to be
Yeah.
represented. You know what I mean? They don't need to be represented, and they will have the upper hand and go to the seller and says, hey, I don't need the commission. I'll take whatever, you know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
pay your seller's agent. I can handle my own, right?
Yep.
What I'm afraid of is that buyers will do the same, right? Consumers,
Yeah.
like you say, I
Mhm.
worried about the consumer.
Yeah.
But
And they'll lose their
well, you know
shirt.
what? I don't need an agent. I'll just use you, right?
Right.
And then there's now a dual agency going on. And then guess what? We're gonna, if anything should happen within that year, right? There's gonna be a lot of suits. So like me as a, I wouldn't want to do an agency. You know what I mean? I like, hey, you better get yourself represented because I'm not doing dual agency. You know, and it's by right that a buyer should get represented. You know what I mean? They should be represented,
Yeah. Oh, that was
right?
great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And especially coming from you with the, your experience, I wanted to hear like people's thoughts on it, and you're right. Like in the contracts, it's kind of how it is. Like, do we have to make it law? Like, or, and so and honestly, I see a even more troubling problem, which is NAR. Like, you telling me like all these people's careers and lives are gonna be disrupted because of one entity, one body, and maybe it's time that we rethink that, but what is that gonna take, right? Like, and who's who has the, I guess, the courage to start that venture and like, start like a competitor with NAR, and because that's a massive association. They have a lot of
Well,
power.
it's the biggest association, right? And like,
Yep.
isn't it also like the biggest, something along the lines, I'm gonna butcher this, but like the biggest influence on our government, basically, right? Like that's the biggest like lobby.
Lobbying group.
I might
They
be
lobby.
misspeaking.
Oh, for sure they lobby.
I might be misspeaking here, but
Oh, for sure
basically,
they
yeah,
lobby.
like yeah, like they're the biggest association in the country, and hence they're one of the biggest donors to political parties in the country.
Yeah.
And so like as much as I'm a supporter of NAR and realtors and everything, like I'm also so in my insides cringe when I think about like an association that just has so many billions of dollars that they just control the way that our country works. And they're the ones that, like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting a rant on my personal opinion here, but have driven us into the shithole that we're in right now, where like corporations control the country and the people are the slaves. And like, you know what I mean? Like, and I never really thought about this, that the NAR is the biggest association and one that I support and I refer and I, like I'm a believer in and a member of.
You pay license, you pay
Oh
fees,
my
right?
God, bro. Like this all has been hitting me over the last couple of weeks with this suit. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I'm part of the problem with
I
like the
wouldn't
whole
say,
political system today,
NAR is definitely a powerful entity, one of the most powerful, I think, in there. I don't know who's the biggest, who has the most power and stuff, but they're definitely up there. And I mean, the housing, they kind of stand for the housing market too, right? And this housing market is one of the major factors of our economy. It touches so many, realms of our economy. So I think with NAR holding all the cards, it's like it could be good or bad, right? It depends on the decisions that are being made. I this one is if they just gave up because they got tired of it and they're like, all right, we just pay 400 something million, go away. Like the problem's not gonna go away. Like now the problem's here, right? Because they gave up on it. So and maybe they had no choice, or I have no idea what goes on in these, these disputes, but it just kind of, I think it's troubling. Like if my career, relied upon like NAR and the decisions they're making, like that'd be in just one body, like because there's realtors that are gonna they lost they're not gonna be able to compete. Maybe new realtors too coming in, they might not be able to compete. And maybe that's rightfully so, it's capitalism, maybe it like John was saying, it's like you put the work in and learn and adapt, or you gotta go find something else, right? Maybe that is the case. So I actually don't know. I'm actually going back and forth in my own mind. So any input would be great. I actually just wanted to see how that would affect our space, if any. And if I guess the way I see it is not really, since we're kind of real estate professionals too. I don't think so. I think it'll be fine.
One of the perspectives I heard last night was that the investors, flippers, hedge funds, like that whole our aspect of the business is going to grow because real estate is not a liquid security. Like like basically because the cost of buying and selling real estate is too high to make it a really, really effective, security, right? But like if if buyers basically start being responsible for their own commissions, which may or may not happen, who knows? But like it's looking that way. Like that could make the buying and selling of real estate, especially for investors who don't need a buyer's agent, made a lot of the times a much more cheaper. It could make it cheaper to buy and sell. So it could bring in again, this is just some YouTube, I'm watching all the stuff on YouTube. But like one of the guys' perspective was like this could bring in a lot more competition on the flipping and the hedge fund side, because now all of a sudden they don't have to pay the buyers, they're going to save 2-3%, whatever it is, and they can buy and sell a lot more houses a lot more cheaper.
I agree, Greg. And I'm thinking too, like when I'm running my numbers, right? Like, okay, now that line item moves to my side if I'm buying, right? Like now that's an expense on my side. Okay, so an extra 2.5 to 3% upfront. That's a lot, in my opinion, or like if
That's
you're
a lot.
selling, like Kikoa said, if you're selling a $1 million house, well, at 2.5% is 25 grand, right? So imagine you have to take off 25 grand. Oh no, that's on the never mind.
Yeah, but I doubt a lot of people are going to be paying that, right? Like, I bet you, again,
Yeah.
I think this was Corcoran who was talking about how, like, we're going to see how, like, this is going to evolve, right? And, like, you're going to start seeing a lot of flat fee buyers agents, $1,500 to represent you to buy, or hourly, So if you want to go see 1,000 houses, you're paying for it, sort of thing. So, like, I think we'll see it's gonna work itself out. Plus, not to mention, again, I think it was Corcoran who was saying like most sellers are savvy enough that they're happy to pay the 2% in order to get a lot of buyers in the door. Like I personally, I would rather pay 2% and sell for 1.2 million than pay 0% and sell for 1.150 or whatever it is, right? Like to me,
Yeah.
I believe that it all works out. Like I'm kind of the guy that believes in like paying top dollar for my realtors. to have a really, really good realtor represent me and, sell our property so that they squeeze every dollar they can out of it. But I don't know. I think
No,
there's
I
a lot
agree.
of different
I've learned
ways,
that
like a lot of
lesson.
different ways it can work out. And it probably depends on like which segment of the market you're looking at. It's going to have its own little way of coping.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this irons out and what realtors do to settle upon like how to handle this. I mean, maybe it's just the buyers will pay for it and there's no problem. Maybe I don't know. But is anybody in any deals right now? Or looking at any that they want to talk about?
You want to see house when we hang up? Wish me luck.
Go get
we
them.
did we did have that one flip in Haiku, man. I've been trying to like get on Coffee Talk for the last
Oh
6
yeah.
months or something to tell you guys about it, but
Yeah, we gotta do that. It's about time we
oh
had
man,
someone do like a deal analysis too. So
bro, that was a messed up deal.
oh
That was the
really?
one I think I emailed you and Keiko and was like, holy cow, man, like this
Yeah, that was
guy.
pretty messed up. Did you solve it?
Well, we're in escrow right now. We're selling it. We're closing next week. So we finished the deal. We bought it and like basically, yeah, now we're selling it. And unfortunately, I mean, it worked out fine for us, but it just sucks for the family that like that was their, it was a family home, you know. Yeah, sucks.
We should have them share more on it at a future one, or you can do it today.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
Uh,
I mean, I could tell you in a nutshell, basically, like that guy called me and was like pursuing me to buy the house. I looked up the tax records. I was like, this house is never sold. Like it's been in this family for 100 years. So so right away, like I personally have kind of a little bit of a soft spot for that kind of situation, where my family had property that we owned for like hundreds of years and then like my grandma decided to sell it or whatever, and now we can never undo that. So I have a soft spot for that. So anyways, I met with the guy and like was like, look, what do you need to sell for? Like, what's the problem that you need to solve? He wouldn't really tell me. He's like, oh, I got, medical bills and I want to go just like pay off all our medical bills and go buy something off on Big Island. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, but like, I this is, you can't replace a property that your family has had for 100 years. So I would let the medical bills go to collections. I would take out a personal loan. I would take out a HELOC. I would do whatever you can to like don't sell this property. And he was like, okay. And I gave him a bunch of lenders numbers and all this stuff. And then and try to, I thought that I convinced him not to sell the property. And then he called me back the next day after calling the lenders and was like, yeah, no, I like to sell the house. And I was like, okay, well, how much you want? He was like, oh, I want like I think he said he wanted like 800. I was like, you could get 800 pretty quickly. Like you could fire sale it on MLS for like 850 and you probably net 800. So you should call a couple realtors that are experts in this Haiku market. Because in my circumstance, I'll pay all cash and buy it like in 10 days and stuff. But like, we're not going to do any inspections and stuff. So we're going to assume a bunch of problems. So we can't pay more than like 700. And he's like, oh no, 700 sounds good. I'll take that. And I was like, bro, you could get like a 800 though. Like, I mean, it'll take a few weeks longer. You know what I mean? Like, it just like it was really weird. And so he insisted. It was one of those leads where like he kept calling me. And anyways, we did a seller rent back. He was supposed to move out in 3 weeks. This is back in October. And at the end of October, he was supposed to be moved out. And we show up at the October 26th or whatever it was with our contractors ready to start renovation. And he hasn't even packed the box yet. And he's like, oh, you know, he's got some excuse and he's like, oh, I need 2 more weeks or whatever. 2 more weeks go by and another month goes by, you know, ultimately we end up getting to like the holidays. It's like December and my partner David and I show up and we're like, look, what's the deal, man? Like you were supposed to be out 3 months ago. We're bleeding cash every month here. And he's like, I like buy the house back. And we're like,
Wanted to encourage you on this.
what?
Sometimes it was-
Huh? So we're like, what? Buy the house back? Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, oh my gosh. And so finally, like that day, that this is like mid-December, that's the day when we finally like just pushed him. We're like, what's going on, man? Because you're going to be evicted. And like, you know, we cannot let this keep happening. We're being as nice as we can, but like we're literally bleeding 10 grand a month. And so he finally like started opening up to me and like showing me like, oh, look, I got this notice from Publishers Clearinghouse. I'm won all these millions of dollars and I just needed to sell the house because I needed to be able to give them a couple $100,000 for the taxes so I could claim my prize. So it was the lottery scam.
Okay.
And so
Wait,
he
he was
thought
falling for the scam,
he fell for the scam.
and he's
And
telling
he
you, I just
sold-
need 2 grand because I just won the lottery.
No. He thought I don't know exactly how much, but like usually they milk like hundreds of thousands out of you. They'll get everything they can. So my guess is that he probably gave him the full like 700,000.
No.
That's my guess. I don't know. I don't know exactly. Like he told me he gave him half of it at one point. But usually what happens, you know, like if you watch like that show Mariana, like on National Geographic, Trafficked on National Geographic,
Mhm.
they have an episode on the Jamaican lottery scam, which is basically the same thing. And like those scammers, they have a way of just like making a connection with people, like in this situation where, you know, it's a lonely old guy who has nobody to talk to, and they make this relationship with him, and like, and the victim is convinced that the scammer is their friend, right?
Mhm.
And they tell him like, even though you've just sent us $450,000, let's say, like you didn't make it by the deadline, so there was more taxes and fees added, you know,
Oh.
interest added or whatever, so you have to send another 75,000 in order to get your $10 million or whatever, you know. So like to them it's like, well, I already sent them 400. I mean, I might as well send the 75. Like I'm gonna get $10 million here. Like, you know what I mean? That's like a very big psychological game that they play. And so anyways, look, I don't know how much he sent them. I don't know all the specifics. All I know is that he fell for the scam. He sold the house specifically for the scam. If he had, you know, unfortunately he didn't tell us any of this until he had given all the money away. So there's
Oh.
nothing I could do. And it's
Oh,
just
God.
gut wrenching.
So he's
And we
homeless
end-
now, and he doesn't have the money. That's
Yeah,
oh.
really shitty. And my sister, I mean, I'm pretty sure, I'm gonna guess that these scammers who posed as Publishers Clearinghouse, like they're probably were like, you know, when they approached him and he said, "Oh, I don't have money for the taxes and stuff." I bet you those people were like, "Oh, well, all you gotta do is like, look, let's see what you do have. Oh, look, you got this property free and clear. Let's just go Google someone to buy your house for cash, and then all you got to do is let them know you need a little time to, you know, give them, you need a month or something afterwards to move out, and you can, and then all you're gonna do is you're gonna get the cash from them, claim your reward from us, and then turn right around and buy your house right back from them. Pay them double
Oh,
whatever they paid you. Who cares, right? Like that's
that
probably what
is
they did.
next level ruthless.
That's probably what I don't know any of that for sure. All I know is like he did show
He
me
got
Publishers
scammed.
Clearinghouse.
Right.
I know he got scammed by someone posing as Publishers Clearinghouse.
What is he
Yeah,
doing now?
that's all I
Like he's
know.
homeless right now, right? So, oh, you're
Well,
renting
the
back to
good
him.
thing is no, he moved out. Well, I mean, we actually you actually had to evict him. It was like,
Yeah.
I
So what
mean,
is he?
talk about like shitty feeling. Um, yeah, like it's just horrible. Like I just wish so bad we could do this whole sale. And
dude,
like
that
it's not
that
even like
guy.
this guy bought this house 10 years ago or something. Like
Yeah.
his grandparents built this house.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Like, and they moved it, you know, it used to be Plantation House down the hill, and then they moved it up to Haiku and up to their track where they had like 50 acres or whatever. And then they subdivided all the acres and like all the, you know, like all the families, you know, all his uncles and cousins and everybody like lives all around him. Like it's all for us. Um, and so like, yeah, whew, man.
Well, how? Um,
But
I
that's the
mean,
good news is like he's very, you know, obviously like he's not somebody that doesn't know anybody and stuff like so like he's got all his family is in Haiku. His family owns half of Haiku, so like I'm sure one of his brothers or uncles or somebody's got put him up in the cottage or whatever.
yeah.
Um, I don't know exactly where he's staying, but we tried really, really hard to he kept telling us he was coming up with the money to buy it back. And so we kept kind of dragging our feet and like trying to wait and to give him a chance to, you know, like he, as unlikely as it seemed, I was
Yeah.
like, all right, man, if you can come up with the cash, we'll take a loss on the deal to get that property back to your family if we can,
Are
you
they?
know, but
Are they still have an investigation going? Or
like the seller into the scammer.
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't talked to the seller now in almost a month now because finally we just had to end up accepting
I
an
mean,
offer from the MLS.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Crazy
but
story, man. Oh,
the other part, the other factor of it was that it wasn't even until January, so after we had already evicted him, that his son calls me. And his son is like, "Hey, I just found out my dad sold the house." And I'm like, "Well, your dad told me that he was like, you know, you guys were planning on buying a house on the Big Island this whole time. That's why you were selling the house, and you knew from day one that he was selling it, and like all this stuff." And he's like, "No, I was supposed to inherit the house, but my dad never told me anything. I found out, you know, through Coconut Wireless that my dad sold the house that I was supposed to inherit."
oh, shoot.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, bro, just
Just keeps
another
getting worse,
fucking
yeah. Is that when he
oh."
told you like he fell for a scam or like there was some kind of scam or
The dad had already told me he had fallen for the scam.
oh
And I told the son. The son didn't know anything. All the son knew was that his dad had just gone and sold their family property out of the blue like this. And so this but the son this it was really good to talk to the son because first off it was before the eviction was completed, so we were able to tell the son, hey, whatever you want from your family home, tell me how much time you need, and whatever you need, we're going to get you what you know, help you get what you need so you can take all the time you need to go through
yeah.
everything in that house and take everything. Because I mean, think about 100 years worth of stuff, like, and
Yeah.
this is like, you know, it's only 1,000 square foot house, but there's like 3,000 square foot worth of barn and garage.
Oh,
So like,
yeah.
there's all kinds
Everything's
of
in
stuff.
there.
Like, I mean, there's Ford small blocks, you know, like there's axles, there's like a 6 foot safe, there's train tracks that like, there's so much stuff that we couldn't even figure out how to move. Um, so they were able to get all their stuff out of there. Um, and then the other aspect of the son is that he was telling us about how like how he's like, yeah, man, this is my dad, bro. Like, you know, if he shows up to that property, the son is saying, have my dad arrested because he needs to learn lessons. This is what he's done in life, and all he's done is like, you know,
Yeah.
made mistakes and like not thought about the way his actions affect other people and blah 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 blah. And so he's like, yeah, now that you guys got the eviction served on him, if he shows up back at that house, you should have him taken to jail and arrested for trespassing. And he's like, you know, it
I
might
don't know if I
sound
could.
messed up for me to be saying that about my dad,
Yeah,
but that just shows you like, you know, that kind of like stuff that he's pulled in life. And
perhaps. Yeah, per month.
sucks, man. Like it sucks. Like you know, the
Hey, that's
gas,
heavy,
whatever. But
dude.
like, yeah, it's heavy, man. And like the
That's
worst part is like the son is the one that really ultimately is paying the price. You know, like he's a contractor. He lives probably like paycheck to paycheck style. Like, and everybody knows him. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, it's one of those things where like everybody, every time I post a picture of the house or like I posted some of the stuff that like they didn't want on Facebook for free for people to come take, and like every single person that came to the property was like, "Oh, it's Mikey's old house." I
yeah,
could tell from the pictures. I knew this was Mikey's old house, and I was like,
yeah.
"Yeah, man, it's Mikey's old house,
Dang.
bro." But
Well,
it's not anymore, man. It's such a messed up story.
yeah, crazy story.
Yeah, yeah. So it
Well,
sucks,
I
but that's
just
what happened. You know, at the end of the day, like I don't know what we could have done to do any different. I tried to like this.
it's
I've
not your
never
guys' fault.
urged a seller more to like not go with us. You know, usually I'm like, look, this is what we'll offer. This is how it'll benefit you. This is what a realtor would do. This is how it'll benefit you. You know, blah blah
Yeah,
blah. I lay it all out so that they make the best decision for them. In this case, I was trying to convince the guy. I was like, look, we're not the best. I mean, you can make $100,000 more if you're just willing to take like 1 to 2 more months and list it. And like he just insisted. Now, and in hindsight, I know it's because the scammers give you a deadline. You
yeah,
know,
they're
they tell
pressing
you
them.
like,
Right.
yeah, they're telling you like, hey, the first winner didn't pay their taxes by the deadline, so now they were defaulting to the second in line, and you're second in line, and you have until the 15th to pay the taxes and get your or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Unfortunately, it's like you always wonder like who the heck falls for these kind of stuff. There's regular people out there that, they're so they unassuming, maybe a little bit or a lot of bit of, b- being naive. Um, but yeah, oh, that was crazy story, dude.
Yeah, the other like rumor that I don't really have like direct proof of or anything is that they were saying the son and the family realtor friend were both telling me that the seller, the older guy, he's in his 60s, Portuguese guy, that he has that he's a lot of like a history of smoking ice and stuff,
Oh, well, yeah,
which
that'll do it.
you know that'll contribute to. But
Yup.
yeah, it just sucks
Well,
that the son, who's a good standing member of society, is the one that's paying the ultimate price.
yeah. Well, that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Maybe we got, I think on the next call, um, Kiko, I don't know if because Greg kind of just reminded me that we haven't had a deal analysis in a while. It's about time we start looking at some deals again. Like, do you have any maybe multifamily you want to run past the crew maybe next week? I'd like to learn more too. Or you know anybody? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, we could next Friday. What do we got? There's a 19 unit mobile home park in Vegas I'm looking at. That could be interesting.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
we should have like let's just look at deals,
Yeah.
talk about them. I know you got a bunch on your table. I got a bunch on my table. All so like maybe we just throw them up there. It's like Shark
Yeah.
Tank,
Like Shark Tank.
like Shark Tank. I've always wanted to be on Shark Tank.
Greg, still waiting for a good short-term rental deal from you, man.
Oh,
Were you looking for short-term rentals on Maui?
Yeah, always looking. I mean, not me personally, but I have a whole list of people who need tax write-offs.
Okay. There is one that it's not like I don't have any special connection or anything, but it's a commissioner's sale that I think I might go. I think it's worth going to bid at the confirmation hearing.
Nice.
It ended up selling at the first auction for 1.1, and I think it's worth like 1.5, 1.6 ish. So there's a little bit of equity there. So there's a little bit of room to bid. So I don't know. Tarek
Nice.
El Musa from the flipping show was like has has been kind of sort of like interested in doing some stuff like that at Maui, and so like I've been sharing stuff with him and trying to see if I could leverage that. So I was gonna send it to him, but like if you know anybody that you know you think would want to bid on it or whatever, and just like I don't know, I can just help out and just go bid or whatever. If they want to just like pay me to go make the bid, I'll go to the auction and make the bid for them or whatever. If you got somebody, I can just share the address.
Short-term rentals in Maui is always good.
Before you send the dudes to Kikoa, Greg, send them to me.
I was just gonna say, Corey, we should look at that together because to pick up a short-term rental on Maui would not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, partner with Greg.
Are you on Maui right now? We don't have any.
Maui would be great right now because FEMA is still renting those things out for some astronomical amount per unit.
How long is that going to be for?
It's for as far as we see, like a couple years. FEMA right now is paying for a bunch of properties that they're not even occupying. They haven't even started in many cases, they haven't even started the removal.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it's FEMA. All their tax.
Yeah, but they're getting a lot pickier. Like I just had turnover in one of my rentals in Kihei and I couldn't get anybody.
Oh, really? Bummers.
Yeah, they're getting picky. They're like, oh, we want 3 bedrooms and up. We want it in Lahaina town. I'm like, well, there is no more Lahaina town. It's gone.
Right.
I
like, got you some
like,
Spire burnt houses.
Yeah, like in Lahaina.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, they're just getting picky about stuff. Like it's got to be all ADA, 3 bedrooms and up.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah,
that ain't gonna work. Hey, I'm gonna go to the doctor. I'm trying to get some stuff for this cough.
Yeah.
So I will catch you guys. Have a great Friday.
okay, bro.
Love you, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for jumping on again for another Friday call. That was another thing I wanted to talk about. It's only in Hawaii though, but it was the what DPP came out with about how they're thinking about cutting the permit time from down to 2 to 4 weeks. So I seen a lot of like people in our community kind of be like, okay, 2 to 4 weeks, rolling the eyes, right? Like, let's see it. But that's a pretty bold statement.
you mean 2 to 4 years?
Yeah. They said 2 to 4 weeks, but like, yeah, it's like, is it weird?
Because we are a year and a half. Wait.
Dude, we're like
we're a year and a half in right now, waiting for our permits.
Yeah, I have stories about permitting, but we don't have time to talk about that. Maybe the next one we'll start talking about DPP because it's going to be interesting. I honestly feel because I sat in on a talk with one of the newer directors. He came out of retirement to go back in there. And it's like, why would you do that? Right? Like you retire from the city and then you volunteer to go back into DPP where nobody wants to go. Nobody like if you work for DPP and you say, oh, hey, what do you do? It's like, I don't work at, in the city and town. It's like, nobody wants to say, I don't think so.
Yeah.
The reputation is just so horrible. But listening to this guy, I gotta say, I have hope, and
but he would only be for Oahu. Like that's not state. That's not,
yeah, it's
county
just
by
for
county.
Oahu. But if they crack the code here, they're gonna adapt, so we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Within like 20, 30 years, we'll catch up.
Yeah. Okay, you just have to come over
It'll
here.
take forever. Yeah.
Well, now, if I forget, someone bring that up next week. I want to talk about that. I'm gonna do some research too, and maybe talk to a few people who I think would have a lot of information for us. So, anyways, have a great Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy Aloha Friday. See you guys next week. Hello, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys.
Happy Easter,
Thanks, Lauren.
everybody.
Oh shoot! Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter.
Have a
Happy
good one.
Easter.